What's going on, guys? This is Qazi. Welcome to another amazing tutorial, Mad Max Fury Road. So now I want to show you how the talk went between the director George Miller and the colorist Eric. He pretty much says that George told him it should be saturated and graphic and the night scenes should be blue. Come on, like just think about it. We're talking about Mad Max, the movie that probably shook the entire world when it comes to color grading and the look. And this is how basic and simple the director kept it. Guys, don't look too deep into it. Don't overcomplicate it. At the end of the day, that's it. Just remember this quote. So basically they used a conversion LUT, which was C-Log to P3 with a film emulation baked into it. And then in the color grading process, Eric used the LUT as a base, and then on top of it, he did the lift gamma gain for basic correction, and he also did keys, because that look you cannot get without pulling keys. So he did end up using that. And that's about it. On that note, if you want to take your color grading game to the next level, make sure to check the link in the description below. 1 hour of free color grading training that takes you from not knowing anything about Resolve all the way to grading your first professional gig. And guys, hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to my channel for more awesomeness, follow me on Instagram, and let's roll the intro. Before we get to grading, I want to look at the shot and analyze it. This is my hero image. That's what I'm using as a reference. I don't know about you, but when I think of Mad Max, this is the shot that comes to mind. I'm going to go in here really fast and drop in my color palette effect. And this is going to tell the color story here. Okay, so I'm going to grab my scopes, move them over, make this bigger. And let's start with our highlights. It's really interesting. If you look at it, there's this salmon thing going on here, okay? And you can see it right here. There is no pure white, and it's just so cool, it's so stylized. Then let's look at our midtones. Just look at this ground. They pushed it as far as you possibly can before breaking your image. Just look at right here or right here. This image is pushed to the max, which I absolutely love. And then my favorite part of this image is the shadows. Just focus right here and right here, how there is this undertone teal, even right here. There's this really nice teal color going on that complements perfectly to our orange. So that makes it a perfect teal and orange sort of story. And they even added that right here, because if you can just imagine a sky during almost midday, because just look at the shadow where the shadows are. So it's like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. When you think of a sky at 1 or 2 o'clock, you don't imagine it being this different, right? So this is just a creative choice. And this whole movie was like that. And that's why it's probably my favorite movie when it comes to color grading, because they just took the creative liberty and they ran with it. Even if it doesn't make sense, like this cyan, where is it coming from? Like it should be like this, it should be like this blue, it should not be this, but why the hell not? That's what gives us the perfect complement to this color that's happening here. So let me make this small, let me bring my scopes back over, let me turn this off, and now I just want to analyze the scopes really fast. Let's start with Parade, and look at how red biased this image is, and we can tell if we just look at it. But then what balances it out is the teal that's happening here. And we can see what's creating that. So look at where the reds are. Look at where the greens are, the midtones. And then the midtones of our blue are almost gone. And that's what's making the entire image, you know, a little bit more on the yellow side. If this was lifted, then it would have been pure red. When the blues are down and reds and greens are lifted, it gives it that yellow tone that we got going on over here. Now, if you look at the highlights in the blue channel, they're pretty lifted and not as close to or equal to green or red, but this lift is what's causing this. So for us to have the salmon color, that's coming from the lifted blues. If the blues were down here, this would have been yellow. Let's look at the vector scope. Look how colorful this image is. I mean, there's just so much juice in this image. it's going towards orange and it's just so saturated. And then they have the perfect complement, which is that teal that's seeping in that we notice right here, and even here. And that's what's giving it that color contrast, which makes this visually appealing. And now if I look at our shot and see what we have to work with, I can tell you it's actually not a bad deal. We have a similar time of day, which is 1 or 2 o'clock. And I think once we start dialing in the colors, things are gonna play in our favor for the most part. I'm just so excited to jump in and figure this out because look at where we are right now and where we need to be. This is not gonna be easy, but if it was easy, it wouldn't be fun and you wouldn't be watching this. So let's jump right in. I'm gonna go ahead and create my node tree. So the first node you guys know is always noise reduction. The second one is my primaries. The third is where the look starts. And then we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do a layer node and another layer node. And then we're gonna come here. We're gonna create another node, which is gonna be our look adjustment. We're gonna create one more node. I'm gonna bring this down. We can do parallel for the windows. And then I'm gonna go to our next node. And this is gonna be sharpening, this is gonna be grain, and then this is gonna be global adjustment. So this is the node tree structure. Now I'm gonna go ahead and name it. And then once I name it, I'm gonna show you a quick tip, which can save you tons and tons of time, okay? So let's start naming them. This is noise reduction. This is my primaries. This is gonna be my background. This is my, in this case, it's going to be ground. And then this, I haven't thought of what this is going to be, so I'm going to leave it as is for now. And then this is my look adjustment. This is going to be sky left. And then this is going to be sky right. This is sharpen. This is film grain. And then that's my global adjustment. Once you have everything set up, what you can do is you can click on gallery. Still, you can come to your power grade. Everyone should have power grade 1. Right click here and say grab still. Now, the beautiful thing about power grade compared to dropping it in your stills is that this is going to be available throughout your projects, all your projects on the same database. So wherever you go, this is going to be available. So let's just say if tomorrow you're working on something else, and if you just want to get there really fast, you can just click on this and this is going to bring everything ready to go. Then you can, depending on the shot that you're working on or scene or whatever, you can modify the labels accordingly, but the structure for the majority of it stays the same. All right, let's get going. So I'm going to click on my primaries. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my contrast just to get in the ballpark. So let's get going. I'm going to park it around here somewhere. And I'm going to use my gain and just bring it down a little bit. And then let's just give it some saturation. I'm going to give it around 65-ish. And I'm going to take my gain wheel and just move it over a little bit toward that yellow. Somewhere around here. So the one thing that you need to know about the layer mixer is that node 6 is going to take precedent over node 5, and then 5 is going to take precedent over the prior node. So if I leave this on and do anything on this node, it's not going to show. Like, look at, it's not going to do anything. And if I go on this node and I move this over, now everything is going to show because this takes precedent over that. So that's the last node. So what we need to do before we click on our ground node, because that's the one that I want to work on, I'm going to go in here and turn that off. Then I'm going to go to my ground and try to select the ground to effect. And the best way to go about it in this case would be color, presets, and just go to yellow. Okay. And look how great of a job it's going to do. It picked all my yellow. Okay. Most of the yellow is picked out. So the one thing to make sure that it picks all of it, even does a better job, I'm going to go back to my primaries and I'm going to take my gain and just move it toward yellow a little bit more. So I'm going to move my image over a little bit more. And now if I come back, like, look at it, it's even doing a better job. So now that we have this selected, I'm going to pop my image open again. And now let's start going in that direction to get our dirt, our ground looking like this. And for that, I'm going to use my offset because I want the entire ground to be affected and get in this ballpark as fast and as accurate as possible. So I'm going to start with my offset and I'm going to start going in that direction. Okay. I'm going to be pretty aggressive. Let's just keep going and eyeball it to where we need to be. That's not a bad spot. Somewhere around here. Now what I want to do is there's way more detail in here than there. So I'm going to use my contrast and pivot to create that. So I'm going to jack up my contrast a little bit and then I'm going to take my pivot and I'm going to bring it down. And that's going to give me that detail. Like we can already see it's coming in. And now what I want to do is pull my offset back a little bit. Maybe I've pushed it a bit too far, but that dance is going to keep happening. So it's okay. We're going to keep playing that game until we get where we need to be. So this is looking pretty good. Another thing we can try is we can go in here and use our highlights and bring our highlights down. So then I want my highs in the ground to be somewhere around here. So I'm going to just bring them down and then that also adds saturation in the colors. So that's looking really freaking good to where we started. Now what I want to do is I want to go in here and I want to go in hue versus luminance. And I want to take my red and I want to pull it down a little bit. And then I want to do the same to my yellow. I want to pull it down a little bit. Okay. So now we're getting somewhere, right? Like just look at right here to right there. We're getting somewhere. What I think is missing right now is I need to pull some blue out to add some yellow to get in that world. So the way I'm going to do it is by using my curves, RGB curves, and I'm going to go into my blue channel and I'm going to grab this and I'm going to pull it down a little bit. And we're adding a little bit of that. This is doing it, okay? Now what I want to do is go to my green and try to pull this down a little bit. But I don't want to pull it down from here. I just want to pull it down from the highs. You know what I want to do is let's do this. Let's take this and bring it to the middle and like really see where we're at and what we need to do. So what I'm going to do is, I mean, it's looking really freaking good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my lift gamma gain to get in the ballpark, but I'm going to start with my gamma and let's just start moving it until we get in that zone. You know what else it can be is like matter of saturation. And then basically we were just adjusting our gain. And if I go back to this mode, I can look at what's happening and make it bigger. So one thing that I do need to do is go in here, luminance versus saturation, and or maybe saturation versus saturation. And I just want to take my saturation on the top end and bring it down a little bit and then keep it for the most part. I just don't want it like what's happening here. I just want to control that a little bit. I think there's still too much magenta in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gain and I'm going to move it a little bit toward yellow. And then move it up a little bit. You know, this is looking really good to me. One last thing that I'm going to add is in my Y channel, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click on Add Default Anchors. So you know how there's so much detail on the ground here than compared to what we got going on here? We can do that by using this technique. So now I'm going to go ahead and start punching in some things here. Like just look at it already. To like really grunge up the ground, and it did that. And I think, to be honest with you, I think we're really close. I mean, look at this, and look at that compared to this. So we're getting there, okay? Now I'm going to go in my background. Basically, it's going to leave everything that's happened here and affect everything else around it. So what I want to do is just get some of these colors right as much as possible in this node before we go in and affect them individually. I just want to add a little bit of the salmon that's happening here. And then I want to go in and grab my gamma and bring it down. And then let's take this and even bring it down even more. Because remember that teal that was happening? So this is giving me that teal. Like now I'm getting that teal. You can even see it on the car right here, right here. So that's pretty cool. And then this is closer to getting us there. And I'm gonna take my log wheels and I'm gonna take my highlights and just take them to that salmon color. So that's looking pretty nice right there. If I come in here and if I want to adjust our ground a little bit more, I can just take my gain and just move it towards that. Like somewhere around there. Okay, so this is good for now. Let's keep moving on. I'm gonna go in my look adjustment and I'm gonna turn on my offset and I'm gonna move this wheel around to see if there's a position where everything comes together a little bit better. I think this is not bad at all. I'm liking the ground better, but more importantly, I'm liking how even her skin and everything else is like in this zone right here. So like all this area, that's looking really nice. So I think the look adjustment came in clutch one more time, how it always does. So that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna leave it there. Now let's go into our sky and I'm gonna kill this for a second and go in here, create a window right here, stretch it out, something like that, and then blur it out quite a bit. And what I need to do is just in this area, go ahead and pop in our reference again. And all I need to do is one, just take my gain and raise it up. So I'm going to raise it till they're in the same ballpark, like around here. And I think other than that, to be honest with you, I feel like it's already looking pretty good. So I'm going to park it somewhere around here. So I'm going to go into my sky right and I'm going to create another window. And you always want to make sure in here that you select power window or else you're not going to be seeing your window. And then we're going to do something like that. I'm going to move it around here somewhere. And then what I want to do is do that. So what I'm going to do to get there is I'm going to use my gamma and gain. Okay. So let's just keep pulling them down. Until we get in that somewhat of that world. Then I'm going to use my contrast and pivot to kind of add that punchy contrast that's happening here. So I'm going to do that a little bit. And then I'm going to pull this down. And then I'm going to raise my gamma a little bit. And I think that's not bad, but I want to blend it better. Like right now, it's not really blending it. It's just kind of giving away the window action. So I'm going to just keep going with this. And then what I'm going to do is select it, go back to my window and move it up. And let's see. So yeah, it's pretty crazy how they have it. One more thing I want to do is, like, you see how it's seeping in to my mountain? I don't want that. So to avoid that, we're going to create another circular window. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to make it the size of the mountain. I'm going to stretch it out. We're going to move it like that. And we're going to just give it some feathering, and then I'm going to click on this guy right here. So basically I'm saying, hey, exclude everything in this window, but then keep everything that you have in this window. So now if I bring this in and look at it, we got our color going on. I like it. I don't even think that this is natural looking, but just because for the sake of, like, you know, the look that they're going for, they're leaving it in. So then we're going to try to leave it in, but we're going to try to blend it better. And right now it's not blending better at all. So let me see what we can do to make it work for us. So I'm going to go back here. Before I do that, I'm going to do a quick detour and add noise reduction to our image. I'm going to set my temporal threshold to 4.8. Then I'm going to move on to my spatial threshold, and I'm going to break the chain and only affect the chroma. Now that's done. Let's get back to our teal sky. So I personally feel like this is pretty heavy-handed. So what I'm going to do is just move my window up quite a bit, because I don't need to have this effect that heavy. And then I can even pull this in a little bit and then just keep it somewhere around there. And then let's go to the second window, and I just want to make sure that that's set somewhere there. And then let's see how this looks. So I mean, it's blending in. It's definitely looking much better than before. Let me pull up this picture. It's definitely not as dramatic, but we still have a few steps to go, so we might get pretty close. So that's okay for now. Now what I want to do is go in here and add some sharpening. And I'm going to go in my grain, and that's where the magic is going to happen. And I'm going to go right here and type in grain, pull this guy down, and I'm going to use 35mm 400T. And then I'm going to just pull, like, I'm going to crank it a little bit. Like, I really like a lot of grain. So like all that looks so good. That makes it look like film right there. And then in my global adjustment, I want to do a couple of things, okay? First thing I want to do is this. And that's a really good trick to get a film contrast. Raise your lift a little bit, bring your gain down quite a bit, and then go ahead in your contrast and crank it. And I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. And then what I want to do is go to my log wheel, pull up my image so I can see where it is. And now what I really want to see is this. This is my black points for the reference, and these are my black points for this image. So I need to bring this down to match that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my low range and pull it down because I only want to affect the lowest part of the shadows. So I'm going to bring this down like somewhere around 2-ish. And then I'm going to go in my shadows and I'm going to pull them down, and just keep an eye right here. I'm going to pull them down somewhere around here. I'm going to park it right there. So this is what I was talking about. So like global adjustment is the real sauce. Like this is where everything happens. So just look what we did. If I disable and enable it, like look at now, I got that deep colors coming in, and now my sky is looking like that. Now there are certain colors that might be a bit much, like down here. So the good thing is how we have everything set up is that now we can go in here in our ground and we can start pulling some color. So I'm going to actually use my color boost and pull this and see what color boost does. If it's not doing much, then I'm going to click on it again and I'm going to try to pull my saturation. So now I'm in my saturation, I'm pulling it, and maybe I can leave it somewhere around here. And then let's just try to get it in the ballpark. Actually, you know what? Couple of things. I want to take my gamma and raise it just to like bring some of that in here. And now I want to just add a little bit more red. I'm actually going to go ahead and adjust my gamma. So that is putting us in the ballpark quite a bit, but you know, I want to go in my log wheels, I want to grab my highlights and I want to move them into that red. Like right now, see now we're like getting into this zone. This is where I wanted to go. If I turn this on and off, just focus right here. See? Boom. That is giving me what I wanted. I'm happy about this. I'm going to take my midtones, and midtones should be this area, and I'm going to pull them towards yellow because I feel like they're a bit too red. And here they're like yellow. Now I want to pull her out a little bit if possible. So let me see this. I want to do two things. I'm going to create a parallel node. The reason why you want to create parallel nodes, because parallel nodes are perfect for blending. Layer mixer is perfect for isolating. So those are just simple concepts that you got to keep in mind. So what I want to do is I want to just grab, I'm going to key this out, okay? I just want to grab all my blacks and I want to lift them just a tad bit. So I'm going to do that by going into my qualifier. And then in my qualifier, I'm only going to use luminance, and you're going to see what's going to happen on the screen because I'm going to turn on my highlights right here. I turned it on and now just watch what happens. So I'm going to add some softness. I'm going to add about 8-ish, 8.5. And now I'm going to just keep coming back until I just grab my, like right here. I just grab my blacks and now I'm going to come out of my highlight mode and I'm going to lift it. So I'm going to lift it by using my gamma. I want to lift it a little bit, not too much. So like even something like that. And then I'm going to go back to my log wheels and I'm going to bring this down to 15-ish. And then I want to pull this down. Again, we just want to match it to this. So I want to pull it down and leave it where it is right now. So we were able to bring quite a bit of detail back. You see right here, and you see on the car, we brought back quite a bit, okay? So this detail matters. Now what I want to do is I want to create one more parallel node. So I'm going to create one more parallel, and I want to grab her skin. I want to grab right here, and I want to go in here. This is not right. So let's click on our picker and go and just do this, not that. So let's go try it again. I just want to pick her skin And I just want to add like, not too much, like something like that of blur. And then I want to go in here and just on the low end, lift it a little, just a little. And then also go into my saturation and pull it down. Like give it a nice little film look. So we were able to pull quite a bit of color out of her skin. And that's kind of cool. That is definitely a film look. And now I want to go back here and see what's happening, where we are, if we're nailing it, all that good stuff. So let's look at it in this mode. And I think what I'm seeing is I'm going to go in here, and what can get us in the ballpark is basically the saturation here is kind of lacking, but then the rest of the image is looking good. So one way to correct it is this. And that's nitpicking, guys. I mean, we're pretty much there. Okay. So I can go under my luminance versus saturation, and the brighter areas, I want to add saturation in my brightest areas. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to raise it, and you see how it's adding saturation in everything. So I don't want that. So I'm going to bring it down. But now I see if I turn this, if I kill this and bring it back, you can see the saturation we're adding in this area. And that's doing a lot. One thing that I'm noticing is that there's a little bit more warmth here, meaning there's probably the blue channel is brought down a little bit compared to what we got going on here. So let's try to do exactly that. So I'm going to go in here. There's a couple of ways we can do it. You know what? Let's try a different way. So I'm going to go into right here and I'm going to use my offset. Let's just bring our blue down a little more and you'll see what happens. Okay. So I'm going to go in here. I'm bringing my blue down and I think it's putting me in this ballpark. And now what I want to do is maybe bring the green up a little bit. All right. I think that's much better. I think we can still pull some saturation out of this, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I think we can pull more saturation out of, let's try this. I'm going to go in here from my shadows. Let's try to pull some more. And I think we're getting more in the ballpark. Okay. Again, nitpicking, you know, at this point, I mean, we might as well be just done, but I really, really want to get it there. And I think if we look at the sky, if we look at this salmon color right here that we have coming in, now I can raise this. I can show you what it can look like if we try to match this. So let's try it. Okay. I'm just going to do it for the sake of it. All right. So let's try to match it a bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go in my curves and then we just bring it up. And like you can just see right here what's happening. I'm trying to match it, bring it up to that point, and even something like that is pretty good. And then what I want to do is same window that we had for here, we can just copy it and I'm going to show you what I mean. So I can go in here, select this window, that was our blocker window, and say copy window, come to my sky left, create another circle, and say paste window. So now you see, boom, it's basically saying, hey, you are not supposed to come down. So when we are adding this, brightening up the sky, it just stays right there. So now let's look at it and see what's happening. So it's not bad. I am not the biggest fan of it, but I think it does help sell our look. So let's go and look at it again. And this is before. And this is after. And I feel like it puts us in this salmon world. So it's okay. Although I'm going to go into my gain and I'm just going to give it a little bit more of that color. So just wanted to give it a little bit more of this. And now if I go before and after, you can see that. And let's see the other side. And the other side is looking pretty good. And now let's see a side by side. I think the side by side is looking pretty good. Looking at it from this perspective, I think we can put more color in here because you can see there's a lot more going on over here. So again, I'm just going to take my gamma and gain and kind of push it in that direction. All right, so let's look at this full screen back to back. And I don't know about you, but I feel like it looks freaking spot on. One thing that I do want to make sure is go in here, go to my color management, come down and make sure that my broadcast safe is on, and then go back in here, look at it. And one thing that I'm noticing is that we are clipping right here compared to what's happening here. So we're definitely clipping. And let's try to bring that down so that does not happen. And that's obviously happening right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right here and I'm going to pull this down a little bit so we are broadcast safe. And that's much better. We're broadcast safe now. So let's leave it here, make it full screen, and look at the two images and see how close we got them. This is pretty freaking insane. And now let's go ahead and break them down from where we started to where we ended up. So I'm going to click right here, grab all my nodes and kill them. Actually, we don't need this node, so I'm going to go ahead, delete it. This is where we started. That's our primaries. Then we went ahead and worked on the ground, which did a super heavy lift. Then we went into our background and try to get everything in the ballpark as much as possible. The look adjustment did its magic and put everything into this world right here, the salmon situation that we got going on. It really helped us with that. If you look at it before and then after, then we went ahead and worked on our left side of the sky. Then I went and worked on the right side of the sky to create this theme up there. Then we went ahead and added sharpening and grain is what really sells this whole thing. Then I added extra contrast that adds this depth that we have here. And then even like the entire image, like it really pulls everything together. I even like what it does to the mountains in the back. And then we went ahead and pulled more detail out of our Talon's dress, and also in our car you can see the grill and everything. And then we went ahead and just pull her out a little bit and just added some color there, and that is the final look. And if you look at it this way, I mean, just look at it. It's where we started, where we ended up, where we started, and where we ended up. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's check out this look in full screen. I hope you guys had a blast. Make sure to drop a comment below. Let me know which look should I do next. I have an idea, but I would love to hear from you. Check the link in the description if you want to take your color grading to the next level. Hit a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, please share this with friends, and I will see you guys in the next video.